respond naturally and tell you what works for you. What works for me is I start swaying, like I sway in a circle, almost like a pendulum. I go, my body goes in a circle basically, and I start going in one direction, and then I can go in a different direction. That's a yes for one direction and a no for the other direction. And then another thing that happens is my left arm will either move up, sometimes my arm will twitch, or I'll move like all the way up, like almost like I'm raising my hand. And then my right hand, my fingers will kind of go downwards and like this. And they do this on their own. So your body will react and respond in different ways, but you can set up something where you're training your mind and you're training your unconscious mind and connecting with your higher self to receive a yes or no answer. One of the best ways is swaying. So if you're standing up, after you've done the tapping and you've gotten your energy centered, you've cleared your thoughts, you're balancing the energy fields by doing the tapping with your wrists, and then you're going to be asking a yes or a no. So you're going to tell your body, show me a yes. And then if you sway in a certain, I do a circle, but some people go forward for a yes. Some people will go backwards for a yes. And then you're going to recenter again with the tapping 3 times, 3 times, 3 times, 3 times. And you're going to say, show me a yes again. And you're going to do this a few times until you get a clear answer. And then you're going to say, show me a no. And you're going to do the same thing with the tapping in between. Show me a no, tapping in between. Show me a no, tapping in between. And pay attention to your body and how your body responds. So you can do a swaying thing to get yes or no's by standing up. You can sit down even, but standing up is the best way to do that. If you're going to use your hands, which is an easy way if you're in public. One way that I remember is if you have, say you have your fingers like this, and when you're asking a yes or no, you're going to be like opening your fingers, putting them inside and opening. And if it's a yes or no, say it's a yes, it will open easy. If it's a no, then it will be like rock solid, or it can be vice versa. So that's a way that you can program your mind. And this is also how tarot works, because tarot works with the unconscious mind by directing the physical body, and then the symbolism triggers the intuition and the knowing, along with like the card meetings too. But the shuffling and how the cards come out is directed by the soul. It's directed by the higher part of you coming through the unconscious, because the unconscious mind controls your body, controls your bodily reactions. It controls all your bodily systems. It controls the frequency that you're putting out, your reactions to things, and it controls what you manifest. So it's the best way to get answers is by tapping in to the unconscious. Yes, very, just like muscle testing. Yep. Just like muscle testing, except you're doing it on yourself. And you can even look that up too. There's different ways that you can do muscle testing. One of the ways that I do this is using just my body, and I'll sway in a circle. And then I'll have my left arm go up and then my right hand. But that happened on its own. It's not something that I programmed to do. But every day for at least 5 minutes, if you're focusing on figuring out how your body's going to react and what a yes or no is, then you can get clear answers. And when you're having certain triggers and reactions, you can use this to ask your body if this is a planetary energy, if this is something collective, if this is an elemental energy in your space, if this is part of like a spirit coming through, an entity coming through, if this is someone in your immediate soul group that you're picking up on. if it's your individual energy. So you can use that to get yes or no answers anytime that you're feeling a little bit off or you have some random thoughts come in, triggers or emotions come up. Because a lot of times the emotions that we're feeling is connected to individuals in our soul group, whoever you've built a connection with, and then the collective. Because the deepest part of the unconscious is connected to the collective. And a lot of what we have surfacing right now is collective programming. And yeah, you can look up muscle testing online. I'm sure there's tons of videos that show tips to different tips, and you can try and figure out what works best for you. But this is one of the best ways where you can test everything. You can test your food. A lot of people use this for food. A lot of people use this to make like random decisions during the day. And what you would do for food is you'd hold whatever you're asking, like, is this good for my body? Should I be having this right now? And then your body will either go in one direction for yes or one direction and no, or you can use the hand thing where you're using your fingers. Another thing that you can do is you can just push down like on your fingers. You can do something very simple. It's up to you to figure out what works. Oh, good. You use that all the time. It's one of the simplest ways to connect. So each week when I do a live stream, I'm going to talk about different tips to connect with your higher self. But for this week, it does take about a week for you to develop that understanding of how your body's reacting. Because if you do this the first time and you're trying to get a yes or no answer, it's not going to come out very clear because you haven't set up that connection, that program yet, and you haven't learned how your body is responding. And also clearing the field by doing the tapping with your wrists like that. So make sure you're doing that. Oh, yeah. See, I was just talking to my sister on the phone like an hour ago, and she was crying 1 minute and then she was fine the next, crying 1 minute, fine the next. So I know a lot of people are going through that. Yeah, start with easy questions. That's a good idea. Um, Start with things that you know, like, is my name, like if we're gonna say Amy or Ashley, is my name Ashley? Then it would say yes. Is my name Bob? It would say then no. So that's a good way of something that you know the answer to get things set up for this week instead of asking questions that you want answers to. So this first week is like questions that you pretty much know already, just to set up that connection and understand how your body's reacting. And then you can play around with it too and ask different things. Yeah, the wrist thing definitely helps. I think this is where a lot of people that do any type of like muscle testing like this or they're missing like the reset. If you're getting answers that you're not sure about or your body's not giving you full concrete answer, I think that's like the reset that really helps. Bob Ash. Yep. Do the wrist 3 times, 3 times, 3 times, 3 times. And you can do that as many times as you need to, but you're doing it in threes. Oh, good. You loop your fingers together. I see a lot of people do that. The looping the fingers together and then pushing them apart. Some people will put their arm out and push it down, or they'll do this to another person. And you can do muscle testing on yourself or doing these like sway testing on yourself to get an answer for someone else, because the unconscious mind is connected to everything beyond this physical. And this is how we're all connected to one another. And then whatever comes up, this is a really good, like butterflies just mentioned, feel it to heal it. This is a good place to, whatever emotions are coming up, you can start asking questions. And maybe I'll write them all down and post it on Patreon, the questions that you can ask when certain emotions come up to get answers, because you can find out if this is on the maternal side, if it's on the paternal side, if it's past life thing, if it's early life, if it's recent, the type of emotion, and you can get a clear answer, because sometimes we can disconnect and the ego can say, oh no, it's this, when really it's something else, or we're trying to block it out. It can be buried in our unconscious mind. Like my daughter, when she was in kindergarten, she stood up for someone like in recess or something, and she got punched in the eye by a little boy. And that has come up for her for like her entire life. And she's always felt um, like singled out, or she felt like scared to connect with people. So that's something from when she was like 6 years old that has affected her up until, I mean, she's 13 now. So things like that that seem like they're not a huge deal and that you could have gotten past, especially with childhood, because the programming usually sets in childhood, the first 7 years. So things like that, you can go back and get clearer answers, and then also reset your system. Let's see. I think I wrote some things down too. Oh, nice. Love is the answer. Hypnosis does childhood regressions all the time. So powerful. Oh, I may have to book one for my daughter. What about the swiping middle of the scalp, front to back 3 times? What's that for? Heard about it to connect to clearing emotional body, I think. Is that right? I'm not really sure, but that sounds about right. I know like tapping on the third eye and then visualizing the third eye opening and then a light coming through the third eye. That's a way that you can open the third eye. So just touching and doing things like that does make a huge difference, along with your intention. If you're just coming in, we're talking about connecting with your higher self to get answers. And you can go back and watch what I spoke about, just so you don't miss anything or I don't forget to say anything about it. But it takes about a week to do these practices to listen to your body. And you can do more research online with muscle testing and see what comes up, because there's all kinds of stuff out there. The thing that I learned, and this was about, I think this was in my 20s, when I started hearing about this. I think it was called the Willow system. And this is how I learned about the resetting with your hands. Because I believe my daughter was young at the time. She was a toddler. So it was, I don't know, about 10 years ago or so that I learned about this. Um, the Willow system, you can look that up. I'm not sure if there's still things up about it, but that was what I was speaking about with the resetting of your body and your energy. Oh, yeah, the chat. See, I have to start the live first and then post it for some reason with Patreon. I don't know why, but that's some reason that's what I have to do. But yeah, there can be like random emotions that are coming up this week. The first couple weeks of May for a lot of people, they're basically going to be clearing um, past stuff that has taken place that they haven't fully been releasing. So if you feel yourself reflecting back on certain things or needing to go to a certain place because that's where you're going to get a trigger, or you need to go look up someone online because you need that trigger to come up in order to bring those emotions out, do whatever you feel guided to do because people don't really see it in this way. But when you're upset about something and you're holding on to something, and instead of blocking it out so you're not triggered, like facing it head on is going to help to release these emotions along with doing this connection with your higher self so you can start working on whatever triggers are coming up over the next couple weeks. So this week is like really learning how your body responds and then paying attention to what's coming up and where it originates. Because sometimes, say you had a relationship trigger that came up recently, or this is something that you deal with in the next couple weeks. There could be an underlying cause way beyond that relationship. It's just that relationship that's blanketing, like it's a veil over the bigger issue. And it could have been something way different, but that is connected, like those memories are connected. If your body's in pain, um, different pain can mean different things, and it depends on the person too, but that's another thing you can ask, like, where this like, why this pain is here, where is it coming from? So how do you know if you're making yourself sway a certain direction or if you're actually connecting? This is why it takes about a week of at least doing this 5 minutes a day to really start seeing the patterns, and then also you're creating that program. So your body is gonna listen when you're doing this repetitively, and it's in the intention behind it too. But, if you're doing it just once, trying to get an answer, it's not really gonna be clear, and it's not really gonna be working. You have to kinda set that up over a week's time. After that point, and the more you do this, if this is something that you use every day, it's gonna be second nature where your body just responds. So and this is what happens with me, my body will start swaying in a circle. My arm, I was doing a reading the other day, and I was second guessing what I was thinking of saying, connected to the reading, and my left arm, like, flew up, basically telling me, "No, don't second guess myself," because when that happens, I know it's a no, and then my other arm would be something else. So your body will tell you, and you just have to tune in and really pay attention, and then don't allow your ego to control things. Like, say you want a yes say you're, like, asking a question, you really want it to be yes, which happens, and then that's where you could be, like, purposely trying to direct your energy to respond in a certain way because you wanna hear that answer. So that would be the ego kind of stepping in to get the response that you want, and this is why it's important to set it up over at least a week's time, and then past a week, it's just gonna get stronger and stronger. Yeah, it is insane the way your body communicates. Yeah, pendulum, it's like the same thing as a pendulum. And you can use a pendulum too, that's another thing. You can make a chart, like, you can do something like you can do something like this and use a pendulum, point it right in the middle, and then kind of watch or point it actually like here. Point it here and then watch where it goes, if it goes to one of these, to say a yes or no, or maybe pendulums work. I mean, sometimes if I don't have, before, if I didn't have a pendulum on me, I would use a necklace that I had. I had this little charm necklace that I would use. So those things work too. What else? There's different visualizations that you can do too, but we'll probably talk about those next week 'cause I have them written down. Um, Trying to think of a lady's name that I remember a woman speaking about some other things with this. I'll have to try and find her name, I forget. But she came up with a lot of different tips and questions to ask yourself to basically program your body to react so you open up the lines of communication with your higher self more easily and then get very clear answers. And you can use like a set of questions and it becomes a routine with the questions and you can use them for everything. I'll have to try and find, I'll do some research tonight and see if I can find her name. Dowsing rods, yes, I got dowsing rods too, that's a good thing with mine though, I don't know if it's because of how I'm holding my arms, but I know mine have been giving me the wrong answers, or they did in the past. The programming, the numbers is probably one of the best messages I've ever gotten because I've noticed how much I'm focusing on gratitude every day now because I'm seeing numbers, seeing the synchronicities. Every time I see the synchronicity, I get into that state of gratitude for a minute and I think about what it is I'm wanting to experience or wanting to manifest. And I'm doing this like 50 times a day when before it was like at night or in the morning or in my meditation. So now it's like an everyday thing all day long, which speeds things up, and I've been seeing this, and it's been working with my daughter too. So even if you're wanting to see changes with other people, you can use this. You can say thank you, or I'm grateful for this person's healing. I'm grateful for um, this person's like success or balance or whatever their manifestation that you know that they would want, something that they've been working towards, and you can feel that and visualize that. So you don't have to just use it for yourself. You can use it for everyone. Yeah, so many numbers to program. And I think within when you start doing the number programming, within it about 3 weeks, you're gonna start seeing things change rapidly. Like, whatever you've been focusing on, you're gonna be led from one place to another place to another place, and then your faith in whatever it is you're wanting to manifest is going to change so much. You're gonna start feeling like Even if something doesn't work out, you absolutely know that it is working out and there's something better in it, and that you're actually going to manifest whatever it is you're wanting to manifest. And I think it's because of just the repetition of it, and yeah, the repetition of it, the daily repetition, and just randomly, it's like a trigger. Oh, every time you see a blue car, that's an awesome, yeah, with any sign, synchronicity with birds. Anytime someone says a certain word, you can trigger that for or like program that. If you have someone in your life that does something that's really annoying, you can program their behavior. So every time they do that, it becomes a positive thing and you're like canceling it out. So say someone's has a really annoying way of eating their food, like they're really loud and they chomp. Anytime they eat like that, instead of being aggravated by it, you can program that and say, "Thank you for this," and feel that gratitude and visualize whatever. That makes a big difference too. Oh, the birds, yeah. Crying with gratitude is good. I think it makes your manifestation even stronger because there's so much emotion with it. Oh, nice. Every time you do a Shakti transmission, a crow shows up. That's funny. I'm actually gonna do one tonight on the live stream. I like the smaller group too. It's much easier. There could be a big wave hitting soon. What's today's date? No, it's not the 8th, it's the 25th. Oh, we have, let me see, 1, 2, 3. So in a few days, there's going to be a portal that's opening, and we have a new moon on the 4th. So the moon will be going through this vortex or this electromagnetic field that connects the sun and the earth, and this creates a portal. It opens a portal. So this is a new moon portal that will be on the 1st of May, which is just, let me see, about a week. What day are we at? 25th. Yeah, so it's not long that we're going to have this. Could be within the next few days that people start feeling this. Within the next few days to the next week. And then again on the 18th, we have a full moon. So on the 15th of May, people might start feeling an increase of energy. And these waves that come in, they've been hitting a lot more when these portals are opening. So within the next few days to the next week for some, and it depends how you feel the energy. Some people, it doesn't bother them at all. They don't really know that anything's changing. Some people are really aware, so they pick up on it a lot more. Kids, my kids pulling away from me because they sense a change in me. It's like they won't accept me as I am now. Yes. And it could be temporary. They could be very angry and triggered by you. I went through this with my daughter for a while, and she's just now kind of getting out of it. It can cause a lot of frustration. It can make you trigger them unconsciously, energetically. So your energy is changing, your perception of things is changing, your frequency is changing, and it affects everyone that you're connected to. So yeah, it's almost like you trigger them, but it's unconscious and they don't really know why. And it can cause people to pull back. This is oftentimes why relationships end, when there's a shift in a frequency, shift in awareness, and it becomes more permanent, that like almost like an awakening. When it becomes more permanent, usually relationships fall apart at that time if you're in a relationship, or there's just a lot that comes up. And sometimes that person will change with you, and then other times you have to separate because you're no longer a match at that time. So yeah, they could definitely pull back. Yes, they're angry. Yep. I dealt with that for a while with my daughter. She's just now getting out of it, thank God. But yes, I completely know how you feel. If I would like just talk about anything really, because we just weren't seeing eye to eye because we're just seeing differently, and then she started experiencing a lot of the same things that I did, and that's where things started changing even more. But because they're your kids, I don't think there will ever be that complete disconnect. Sometimes there is, but it depends on the person. If that's something that you don't want, then most of the time that won't happen. Yes, the teenage. Oh, nice. He is understanding. Yours is 16 and he's understanding you after you showed him your cards. That's awesome. So many kids are shifting right now. I've gotten a lot of requests from younger people, like teenagers, for me to do pick a card reading on my channel. So I'm going to start doing those because I was really excited to hear that. Because before, nothing. They like I didn't hear anything about it. I even got made fun of by my daughter and all her friends. When they would listen to my channel, they would like all get in a group chat and they'd listen to my channel and they'd all laugh and talk about how crazy I was. And now they're all watching this stuff changed. Yes, parent relationships are so karmic. I agree, Amy. It's planned, it's all for our growth.